You're watching Force 13, United States and Caribbean's live streaming service.
Historical tropical storm Hilary continues its advance into the state of California as well as into the southern United States. By this point, the center should probably be over the border of California and Mexico, as we are seeing a lot of flooding rain. We are seeing tropical storm force winds, as well as the potential of landslides. Also, before we went on the air, there was a magnitude 5.1 earthquake in the Los Angeles area, so adding a little more insult to injury there is Mother Nature when it comes to Hilary. On the other side, the other basin of the world, we have a plenty to go over in the Atlantic, where we have two storms currently named. We also have Tropical Depression 6L, which will not be with us much longer, as well as keeping an eye on the Gulf, where Invest 91L could be another U.S. threat later on in the week, around the Tuesday time period, as excessive rainfall outlook and severe weather outlook is already out for that. Our main coverage here tonight is going to be on Hilary in the state of California and in Nevada, as we have the GR2 up to show the radar, as well as we will be showing the NHC updates as it comes in. My name is Jonesy. I'm your host for tonight. I'm also the director at Force 13 US. We currently do not have a channel, so we're here for you on the main channel, covering not only Hilary, but also the threats of 91L, and as well as Franklin, which will be affecting Hispanola later in the week, and maybe down the line could be affecting other parts of the Atlantic. Joining me is my team as of right now. We have Samuel, and we have Matthew Tuarts, as well as Fitz will be joining us later tonight. Oh, yeah, I need to unmute you guys. Excuse me. There we go. You guys can talk now. Sorry about that. That was a little technical difficulty on my behalf.
Yeah, so what I do want to reiterate, we do have currently Tropical Storm Hilary Center is located approximately around just south of the U.S.-Mexico border here, and the strongest winds, the tropical storm force winds, are being felt along the mainly along the border between California and Arizona, heading up into the south towards the southwestern tip of Nevada here. However, that is not going to be our main threat. The main threat from this system continues to be the flash flooding threat, and several new flash flood warnings have just been issued. The latest ones being from Riverside, including San Bernardino County, was just put under a flash flood. I believe just put under a flash flood warning, which is this is a PDS flash flood warning, as there is a considerable damage tag for the San Bernardino County flash flood warning, and this is going to be going for the next few hours. This is set to expire at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. This is going to include areas such as Mitchell Caverns, SEMA, Kelso, York Fire Burn Scar, Highway 95 at mile marker 29, Needles, Black Canyon Equestrian Campground, Hole in the Wall Campground, Mid Hills Campground, as well as X6, Nipton, and Ivanpah Roads, and Highway 95 and I-40, Mountain Pass, and Mojave Valley. If you are in these areas, you absolutely need to be seeking higher ground right now. These could be fast, quickly rising floodwaters. I do also want to point out that we have some other considerable flash flood warnings as well.
Essentially, I am going to cut you off because I did put it up on the screen. This is the active warning list that they give you on GR2, and pretty much you see here, every single flash flood warning, bare 2 of them, in the state of California is a considerable tag, meaning PDS. So the following counties in California are under a considerable tag. All these go until different expiration time periods. Kern, Inyo, Los Angeles, Ventura, San Bernardino, La Paz, Imperial, Riverside, Kern, and San Diego, as well as Tulare, and in the state of Arizona, Yuma County. So all those counties, some of the counties there in California are very big, so these are different parts of the counties. So, for example, Kern is on here about 5 times. San Bernardino, as well, is on there about 5 times. Imperial's on there about 3 times. So these are all different parts of the counties that are under flash flood warning. Metro Los Angeles itself is under a considerable tag for flash flooding, and that goes until about 9:30 p.m. tonight. Samuel, you can continue.
Yeah, and we are also seeing multiple reports of flash flooding ongoing right now in these counties, especially in Los Angeles County and Ventura County, where tropical storm force winds are also being reported in this area. Even Santa Clarita County as well. So basically, this flash flood threat is going to continue off to the north as Hilary continues to move further inland into the southwestern United States. So for those of you who are in anywhere in Southern California, literally anywhere in Southern California, heading up towards, I believe that would be heading up towards the Santa Clarita and the Lancaster areas, potentially going as far north as the Bakersfield metro area. You need to be preparing to seek higher ground right now, as much of the southern portion of California here and parts of Arizona are currently under some sort of considerable flash flood warning, and these are areas that are not built to withstand flooding. So it's absolutely crucial that you are staying as far away from floodwaters as possible. You need to also ensure that you have an action plan in place if you need to evacuate your area, especially if you are in a low-lying area that is prone to floodwaters. You need to make sure that if you are advised to evacuate the area, make sure that you are listened to you heed all the evacuation advice, as that can definitely be a matter of life or death. Because this is also fast-moving water that you're dealing with here, because this water is going to have really nowhere to go, given the desert, given that it's a desert that really can't retain water very well. So it's absolutely crucial that you are attempting to seek higher ground if you are in the southern parts of Southern California right now. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these areas get upgraded to flash flood emergencies as Hillary continues to move further inland.
Absolutely, we may see some flash flood emergencies tonight. We may even see the we might even see something else. We may see the risk of some tornadoes, as there is a 5% risk of tornadoes in effect for parts of this region. But before we go into that, we will be showing you here is the U.S. Tropical Weather Outlook, which has just been completed by myself. So the U.S. Tropical Weather Outlook, we're just focusing in on the East Pac and the Atlantic. But the main tropical weather outlook will be out on the Force 13 Twitter. That was done by Ethan. It does include some areas that we're going to be watching in the Western Pacific, as there are areas that we're going to be keeping our eyes on out there. So, and all this you'll be seeing in the Tropical Weather Bulletin, and Nathan is recording that, and he's going to upload it, and he has his voiceover that will be in the video. I will voice over it here on the stream when we get to it. So the Atlantic has woken up, folks. So as Hillary is going to be dying off over the next few days, the Atlantic is starting to churn stuff out. So we still have 6L, which was the first of our 5 areas of interests. And we will show live feeds from Los Angeles, San Diego, and Tijuana later on. And we will answer your questions. So 6L still hanging on there, but it won't last that much longer. The NHC only expects it to last about another 12 to 24 hours. Currently, the NHC has it at 35 miles an hour. By our estimates, we are running with 30 miles an hour and 1,008 millibars. Emily, which is right over there in that big area of interest, which we'll get to in a little bit. Emily is currently running with what will probably be its peak of 50 miles an hour, which is in agreement. The NHC and our cyclone analyst team are in agreement there. We have 1,002 pressure on Emily. The NHC is currently running with a pressure of 1,001, so they're running a little lower. And obviously Franklin was just designated 2 hours ago, and there will be an advisory on Franklin as well as Hillary. The intermediate advisories on those two systems will be at the bottom of the hour. There are tropical storm warnings, or sorry, not warnings, watches in effect for the island of Hispaniola, so both for Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Franklin's currently running at 40 miles an hour, the pressure 1,004 millibars. NHC is running with 45,002. We have it a little lower. The NHC has 35,008 on 6L. On 91L, we have 50% odds of formation there. The NHC has it at 60, so that's actually a little mistake by me. That should be up at 60. But we do agree with the NHC that that is probably going to be forming right before it gets to Texas and northeastern Mexico, and that looks like that's going to be in the Tuesday time period that we're going to be seeing a landfall, based on the Weather Prediction Center and the Storm Prediction Center issuing excessive rainfall outlooks and severe weather outlooks for 91L. It's not that strong right now, as it just moved through Florida and all that. Only 25 miles an hour and 1,012 millibars, however, with no shear basically in the Gulf and very warm waters, and that oceanic heat content is a lot. It could easily get its act together very, very shortly. 60% odds that the NHC is going with, and we tend to be in agreement there, although Nathan and Ticos has it a little lower at 40%. We do agree with the NHC that is going to be 60% odds. I'll just have to fix the icon there, so ignore the 50%. It's supposed to be a 60% icon. And of course, that area of interest that just came off of Africa, already up to 70% odds, and dare I say, it looks pretty good already. So we could be seeing another system right behind Emily and Franklin. We could be seeing the G name storm and possibly the H name storm in the Atlantic very, very soon. And there is also two areas of interest to watch in the Eastern Pacific. That 40% area that was being marked the last few nights by us, the NHC does not have it marked. That is now down to 30%. So that's the one area right here. And the other area that we're going to be keeping an eye on is what could possibly be a hurricane risk for mainland Mexico, although that would be late next week into next weekend. That could be something to keep an eye on in Mexico, but as of right now, only 20% odds, as it's still going to be in the later part of the 7-day period that would probably form. And then obviously Hilary right up here, which is at this point when we put into positioning, probably at the border. Probably at the border. It's 50 miles an hour with a pressure of 995 is what we're running with. And you will probably see something similar for the NHC at their next advisory coming up at the bottom of the hour. So that is the U.S. tropical weather outlook for today. Oh, ignore that. That is nothing. But regardless, that's supposed to be a 60%. There, icon there, 491L.
Yeah, I also do want to add, I do want to go to the SBC outlook here regarding the severe hazards that we do have in association with Tropical Storm Hilary here in California, as well as parts of Nevada, Arizona, and Utah. So do you see that near the center of Hilary in the right front quadrant there? That's where you're going to have your greatest tornado risk, and that's going to expand. That's going to expand up to the California-Nevada border here, including some parts of far southwestern Arizona. That's going to include areas such as Yuma, Yuma, Lake Havasu City in Arizona, and Indio, Cathedral City, and Palm Desert in California. And the 2%, this is going to include the Las Vegas and Henderson metro areas. This is also going to include Paradise, Nevada, as well as North Las Vegas and Sunrise Manor in Nevada as well. You do have a good chunk of western Arizona also in that 2% tornado risk, and even parts of far southwestern Utah. So if you're in those areas, you need to be on alert for any tornado warnings that might get issued for your area. As I do suspect that we could be seeing the tornado threat ramp up as Hilary continues to move inland.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a 5% risk. That's for the rest of the marginal. There's also a little sliver there at the border between Arizona and New Mexico that is in that marginal risk for wind, and obviously no hail. For tomorrow, there is a marginal risk in effect for Arizona, Utah, Idaho, and Wyoming. And this is it doesn't say that it is, but it's mainly going to be for the mid-level remnants of Hilary in the right front quadrant of it. No tornado risk, mainly just a wind and hail risk there. And as we move into day 3, and then that energy will shoot off into the Canadian prairies like we were mentioning. So there could be possibly some severe weather up in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, but probably some strong thunderstorms. And as mentioned, down here, day 3, this is 97L. That's going to be the north and the part of the storm. Parts of San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Laredo, Victoria, and San Marcos. 5% risk for marginal, and that's going to be due to the tropical disturbance known as 91L. And we can even go to the Weather Prediction Center, the excessive rainfall outlook. So there's your high risk for California and Nevada for today, with the moderate surrounding it. Tomorrow, there is a huge slight risk for going through many states, actually. California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington State, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and Arizona. And it looks like that slight risk goes a little bit in what would be equivalent of excessive rainfall slight risk going into the provinces of British Columbia and Alberta. And that is all in relation to Hilary. And then on day 3, what will be left of the mid-level remnants, there in the Utah, Arizona, Nevada area, and a second area over by Montana, Washington State, Oregon, and Idaho. But here's 91L starting to make an appearance down here with the slight risk on the excessive rainfall outlook for Southern Texas and a marginal risk surrounding that. And that even goes into parts of northeastern Mexico, and the marginal risk going on day 4 as well, what will be the remnants of 91L at that point. So definitely a lot of those interests in northeastern Mexico as well as Texas should be keeping an eye on it, as well as if for flooding rains, anyone in the basically west of the Rockies and into the Rockies should be keeping an eye on the remnants of Hilary. So definitely a lot to watch when it comes to that. My team's gonna answer some questions while I run off to the bathroom. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you tag at 413 in the chat, and we will get to it.
Yep.
We'll also show you live cams when I'm back.
All right. So I do want to add. Somebody said. What about GERT? We don't. Now the thing is, like, the problem with naming systems is that you can have situations where you have multiple invests or multiple tropical depressions in a basin, like you have now, and what ended up happening is that we had 2 new systems that got named in a very short time, and this is the reason why we don't pre-name storms. And actually, last year was actually a pretty good example of this, where people were saying that the storm that would become Ian was going to be Hermine, and the other, and the one out to sea was going to be near the coast of Africa was going to be Ian. Well, that ended up being 2 completely different. That ended up being the opposite of what happened. So this is one of the reasons, and that can easily spread misinformation if you have the wrong, if you get the name of the storm wrong. So it's absolutely crucial that all systems are addressed by what they are designated as, unless said otherwise by the NHC. But yeah, I do anticipate that we could be seeing 2 additional named storms coming out of this batch of invests that we've had in the Atlantic, and it looks like there's a good chance that all of those invests are going to form. I do also want to point out that we have a new report out of San Bernardino County with another flash flood report. This is 2 miles west of Joshua Tree, where mud and debris has been found on State Route 62, heading east. This was earlier today at 4:01 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. So this is not too long ago, considering the context of when that happened. Multiple high wind warnings are also in effect for Hilary's tropical storm force winds. Basically, it's going to be in the mountain ranges and desert valleys that are going to be getting the brunt of this. Mostly in the interior Southern California, that's seeing that's going to be seeing the strongest winds. Um, but I do also want to point out that much of the but obviously the main focus for this system is going to be that moderate and high risk area of excessive rainfall, and I do believe that the moderate risk area does include parts of Las Vegas,
It does
as
include
well
Vegas,
as
it does include Los Angeles, and it includes San Diego as well.
absolutely. And there are, I do believe flash flood warnings are likely to be coming for Las Vegas here pretty soon, as the system continues to move further up the basin here, up the California and Nevada basin. So so those of you who are in the Vegas metro area, those of you who are especially those areas south and west of Vegas, heading all the way down towards the eastern LA metro area, you need to be seeking higher ground right now. As is this is a very serious flash flooding situation that you that those of you even those who are not used to this amount of kind of flash flooding, you need to be taking this absolutely seriously. And those of you, and I do want to drive home the, the issues with with rare weather phenomena such as this in areas where they normally don't happen. This doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare for them. You want to prepare for every possible. If you are anywhere in the United States, you want to prepare for where any sort of risk is present. You want to prepare for the absolute worst of that scenario, no matter how often these occur. So you want to make sure that you are, especially now, staying focused on the flash flood threat that is in your area. Even though it's unusual, you want to absolutely make sure you are taking action if you are threatened by flash flood waters at any time. And make sure if you get evacuation orders from local officials, please evacuate, as that is going to be, again, that could be a life or death situation.
So,
There are
what?
plenty of vehicles getting flooded out in Cathedral City. Cannot show image of that, as that image was posted by a storm chaser for AccuWeather. Although definitely there is plenty of flash flooding ongoing. I was about to play a video that I realized was from ABC7, so that was about to be bad. I forgot that I'm the one streaming. But yes, there was an earthquake earlier. As you see here, magnitude 5.1. A magnitude 5.1. It was originally a 5.3, was downgraded to a 5.1 with a did you feel it? I believe getting into the 5 to 6 range. Yep, 6 range. Shape map was 7. Over 11,000 felt reports on this. There is no tsunami threat, as this was over the coastline. The earthquake channel is covering the earthquake there that was occurring. That was at a depth of 4.8 kilometers, so a very, very shallow earthquake happening right in the area of Los Padres National Forest there in the Southern California area, right to the west of Los Angeles. Very shallow earthquake. One of the last things that they need right now because of what's happening with Hilary. There are plenty of cameras that I will be going and getting for y'all in a second. So give me 1 second and I will be going on to the Earth cams and I will be getting those up for everybody. So just bear with me for 1 second, folks.
So I'm gonna reach out for another question. Does tropical storm does produce lightning? Now, hurricanes and tropical cyclones have lightning, but they're really rare, as far as I'm aware. So
They can. They can produce lightning. It's very, very rare, though.
yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's because of the weak vertical draft and the strong horizontal wind. Yeah.
I believe that it is near or has already passed high tide in on the west coast, so it's heading towards a low tide as we speak. That's not going to be for another few more hours though, but it definitely is heading towards the low tide. And looking at Las Vegas has our cameras. They do. Is it raining in Las Vegas right now? Does anybody know that? Let's find out if there's some rain in the Vegas area. So we'll get some Vegas cameras up. Mainly the cameras that we're going to be looking at, though, for today are going to be San Diego as well as in LA. So those are going to be the cameras that we mainly look at, as well as Indian Wells. So let me just load those into the Earth cams real quick. Let me load those Earth cams up. So give me a second.
I'm gonna also read another question here. Have you heard about a hurricane? Well, I guess it just happened.
That's probably a meme, but I guess that is what happened there.
Yeah, but I guess it happened.
Alright, let's take a look here at the Port of Los Angeles. There is obviously rain and wind going on there in the Los Angeles area from Hilary. The port is not really busy today as it's closed down due to Hilary. There is a flash flood warning for Los Angeles out, as well as the state of emergency there in California that was issued yesterday by Governor Newsom. So definitely those in the Los Angeles area are taking Hilary seriously. That's what we'd like to see. Moving down the coast to San Diego Harbor, as this has a lot of people viewing this camera, as it's also, the visibility is not the greatest, as it's also doing with some rain and wind from Hilary, is the San Diego area. The San Diego Earth Cam is actually one of the most popular Earth Cams that people are viewing right now, and that is due to Hilary. And another popular Earth Cam is the Indian Wells Earth Cams there, and there you can really see the wind and the rain there from Hilary. The palm trees are gusting. Definitely tropical storm force winds and gusts there, as there's a little river that you go over at that golf course. I don't know if that river's supposed to be that big or not. That might be just a little brook. So with all the rain that's coming down, you can definitely see that there is definitely some strong. There's a lot of water coming down that's causing flooding, and there's some very strong wind gusts that we are seeing there at the Indian Wells Clubhouse in Indian Wells, California. Let me actually find out exactly where Indian Wells is in California. It's in Riverside County in the Coachella Valley. So it's to the southeast east of Los Angeles to the northwest of San Diego. So it looks like that, and it's by Palm Springs, so it's right in this area over here. It's in the Coachella Valley. This is right by Salton City. So yeah, they are definitely getting the. They are definitely getting rain. They are definitely getting very strong winds. As a matter of fact, it is the Coachella Valley that is seeing the very strong tropical storm force winds right now. And this is where we actually expect the strongest of the tropical storm force winds to be in the state of California, more inland here in the Coachella Valley and heading down into the Imperial and Westmoreland Valley down here on the other side of the Salton Sea. What about Cabo San Lucas and Puerto Vallarta? Well, Cabo San Lucas is definitely out of it. That's all the way down here. So the Cabo San Lucas area is definitely fine, and as they are starting the recovery, although I don't think they really got many effects there. Maybe some light rain from Hilary, but it didn't get much in the way of winds. Although some parts of the Baja California area did receive more towards the Isla de Cedros, where we had the first landfall of Hilary that was made. That was right near the border of Baja California Norte and Baja California Sur. So Cabo ended up not taking much in La Paz. Did not really see a lot of damages, which is a good thing. Not heard much come out of Cedros Island, where Hilary did make its first landfall, and I also did not hear much from the areas where it made its second landfall in Baja California. Definitely will have to keep an eye on that. I'll see if I can find some earth cams from Tijuana and Ensenada. I'll see if I can find some earth cams from there, as well as Mexicali, because I'm pretty sure that they're also getting some very strong tropical storm force winds as well.
Alright, I'm just gonna go, guys. I have some stuff to do, so I hope you guys keep doing it. I'll see you guys later.
Someone asks, I live in San Diego. Will there be severe damage? If so, what areas will be the most affected? Well, if you're in San Diego itself, you may get some tropical storm force winds, but they're going to be gusting probably up to those. I think for LA and San Diego, the biggest threats for you is not really going to be the winds, although you're under tropical storm warnings. The biggest threats for you, as let me bring it back to the main screen, is going to be the rain that's going to be falling, where you're going to see a bunch of flash flood warnings that do get issued. It's going to be the more inland areas over here, so by the Coachella Valley and Palm Springs, down here by Imperial and Calexo and Mexicali, Westmoreland, Yuma. These are going to be the areas where you're going to see going up towards the Las Vegas area. Near the Las Vegas area, this is where you're going to see the strongest of your tropical storm force winds that are going to get issued. As a matter of fact, I actually saw people that were at the Las Vegas sign. There's not a lot of rain in the Vegas area, although it is cloudy, and they're just outside having a great time, but they don't realize that there's going to be tropical storm force winds heading up their way later on. And it's going to go that far inland, the tropical storm force winds. So if you're in San Diego, you are going to get tropical storm force winds, more so compared to, say, Los Angeles. But you're definitely going to, I'm going to say, so definitely stay inside when the winds are blowing. But I'm going to say it is going to be more of a rain and flooding threat for you if you are in the San Diego area.
Absolutely, and I do want to also point out that we have additional that flash flood warnings are now being extended for Riverside, California, Riverside County, which is going to continue towards the top of the hour. Actually, no, not towards the top of the hour, toward back to 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, which, again, this is going to be uh, increasing. This is going to be increasing flash flooding threat. And I do also want to point out that I am starting to see a little bit of rotation getting picked up on some of these cells, on a few cells up towards Nevada and parts of and areas near the border conjunction, the border between the triple border between Arizona,
California.
Nevada,
Oh,
California.
okay.
As actually,
I thought you meant the other triple border of Arizona, Mexico, and California.
no, it is the other border. It is the other border between Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. Is what I'm looking at.
Oh, okay.
But there are areas towards the border with the triple border with California there that does have some rotating cells.
I am seeing coming across my Twitter feed is Charles Peak of the Weather Channel. He's over in Palm Desert, which is here in the Coachella Valley. Palm Desert's right here and near the Indian Wells area that we were showing you, which is right here. The floodwaters are filling up the washes quickly in Palm Desert, and in these areas in California they have washes because they don't really have, say, rivers, because it's more of a bit of a dry climate, somewhat of a desert climate. And you'll see that in LA. So what the camera that we were showing you out of Indian Wells, that's probably a river at the clubhouse. It's probably a little river. It's probably a little wash. So you can definitely see that river and you can also see the water flowing into that is. Let me actually get that back up so you can see what I'm saying. So right over here is. Right over there on the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that little white triangle. That is water that's actually going into that river there, and that little river or wash there. And that is in this area. So the washes and the rivers, they are definitely filling up very quickly there in the Coachella Valley. So definitely why we're seeing considerable tags come out on these flash flood warnings. When will the strongest? Is there a chance Hilary could stay alive longer because of the brown ocean effect? Well, we don't usually see storms last this long up here. I don't know if this area of the country has brown ocean effect, so I don't necessarily know about that. Hilary is still there. The center is still there. When will the strongest winds hit San Diego? From what I was hearing from people in the Southern California region, we are in that time period of the worst conditions beginning, which is between the 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. range of it beginning, and it will go into the nighttime hours. Brown ocean effect is basically when you have a very flat area of land around the sea level, can be somewhat swampy and marshy, and that basically will help tropical storms stay longer and last longer. And if you get what we call a sting jet stream over some of those areas, it may actually help enhance storms or reform storms. I know last year or 2 years ago, we had a couple of systems in North Carolina, Georgia, in the southeast, in that brown ocean area. When a sting jet happened, it helped actually strengthen it over land. But because of so many mountains here in the western part of the country, and especially in California alone, because this is a valley right here, and then this is all desert and mountains. This is all mountains right here, and then you have more valleys along the shore, which is near LA, Oceanside, San Diego. You're probably not going to get a brown ocean effect when it comes to Hilary. How large is Hilary? Well, Hilary is a very large storm. and it has become very elongated. It's a very large storm now. Hilary is, as I don't think they've issued the new update yet. They have not. It's currently the winds, these tropical storm force winds are going outward 230 miles from the center. That is 370 kilometers. And if we go back to the this, you can see here's the center of the storm, and it's going 230 miles north. It's going well into Arizona. I don't think it's probably not gonna reach Phoenix, but it may get into, parts of the desert suburbs in between Phoenix and Yuma, although I don't think it's going to get directly into the Phoenix metro area, which is over in here, those winds, but it's probably definitely going to be the eastern part of the winds. It's probably going to be definitely in this desert right here, that valley in between Yuma and Phoenix. State Route 62 eastbound of the Olympics has mud and debris on the roadway. This is in San Bernardino County, 2 miles west of Joshua Tree. So definitely there are landslides and mudslides are occurring. That's another thing that we do actually have to worry about, besides the flash flooding, is the mudslide. So when you do go to higher ground, you need to be very, very careful because of the mudslides. As the National Hurricane Center, they said at Advisory 18, 3 hours ago, they said, core of Hilary nearing Southern California, catastrophic and light threatening, flooding likely over Baja California and portions of the Southwest through Monday. And we do have some breaking news coming in, and I'm gonna have to up the odds on 91L again, as the National Hurricane Center has just upped the odds of 91L to 70%. So that you're hearing it here. The odds on 91L are at 70%. And the National Hurricane Center is now agreeing with us. That area off the coast of Africa in the eastern tropics, they have right by the Cape Verdes, that is also at 70%. So we have TD6, we have Franklin, which we're awaiting Advisory 1A, and we also have Emily, and we also have now 2 high areas of formation, 91L, and also this area of interest out here in the eastern part of the Atlantic. That might get designated as 92L very, very soon. And they say tropical storm watches or warnings may be necessary on Monday for portions of South Texas and the northern Mexico coastlines. So even if it doesn't become a tropical depression tomorrow, we might see it be named as potential tropical cyclone. Emily was probably, so that's 6, Emily's 7, Franklin's 8, so this would probably be 9, PTC 9. This area out here, yeah, number 2 is the Cape Verde one, that's 3070, so that's 70% formation odds. So the NAC is agreeing with us now that that area out there is going to be a 70% chance of formation, and they also upped the Gulf to 70% chance of formation. So the Atlantic's is, heating up right now. Definitely going on a bit of a tear. We're 20 days out from peak season, so, you could say that peak season came a little early in the Atlantic.
Absolutely, I do. And I believe that a lot of this does have to do with the subsequent lack of wind shear in some areas across the
Well,
across the
there is
Atlantic.
wind shear that is basically what's going to be killing 6L and eventually Emily very soon. But regardless of that fact, um, there's not really a lot of wind shear in the Gulf. There's really not a lot of wind shear in other parts where Franklin is, and eventually when it gets into the open Atlantic, there's not going to be a lot of wind shear there. So definitely, and I guess there won't be a lot of wind shear for that one that's by the Cape Verdes later on in the week.
Yeah, near Cape Verde, and I can say that the lack of wind shear north, heading off north, well north of, um, I believe, which would be well north of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, which I believe, which system is that? Which system is
Franklin.
surrounding those areas?
Franklin.
That's going to be strengthening once it gets onto the open ocean because of that, because of that lack of wind shear that will be out where it is moving towards. So um,
Here's here's that updated tropical weather outlook, where I just had to update this to where it is now 70% odds of formation there in the Gulf of Mexico. Everything else at the top is still the same. Hope this will probably be going out on our on the U.S. Social media side of things in the next few hours, in the next little bit. But yeah, you have four active systems, three AOIs, and one invest on the map. So very big, very busy area. Usually when we do the U.S. tropical weather updates, outlooks for the U.S. team, we usually just focus in on the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean, but because of Hilary, the last few days we've been including the Eastern Pacific. So we are going to see what occurs with 91L and as well as out there at the Cape Verdes. And we'll even have to keep an eye on these areas of interest in the Eastern Pacific, what they end up doing. This first one, which was 40%, not really. Now it's down to 30%. I never was really a fan of it. And this area for 20%, we will have to keep an eye on for next week if it becomes anything. We are going to be live for another couple of hours, at least one more hour, maybe two. And then after that 3 hour mark, we'll see how our team is feeling. But regardless, that is what we are mentioning, and we're going to go back to the Indian Wells camera, where it is currently 4:55 p.m. there.
yeah, I do want to add as well. There have been several non-thunderstorm wind gust reports going up towards 80 miles an hour. Mainly, those are going to be more confined to the mountain ranges and peak areas. But this could be mixing down. Some of these wind gusts could be mixing down towards to lower elevations as well, especially towards the especially as especially as the center of Hillary continues to head head up through Southern California and into Nevada, and this is and areas such as Las Vegas is going to be seeing these strong wind gusts as well, up to 60, 70, maybe even 80 miles an hour, as it continues to head up as it continues to head pretty much due north. Looks like right now I'm also seeing that thankfully there hasn't been much in the way of a tornado threat as of late. We did have a tornado warning earlier in central Southern California, um, but it looks like that didn't seem to produce any significant tornadoes or spin-ups, which is good for now. But I do advise that anyone who is in these areas right now continue not only take action against the flash flood threat, but you should also be keeping the potential tornado threat in mind, as these areas are getting the right front quadrant of Tropical Storm Hilary, which is the area that is most susceptible for which is most susceptible for tornado producing rain bands.
Ha! I'm still muted. Okay. Well, as I was saying, this is the main tropical weather outlook done by Ethan Hilary right here. 50 miles an hour, 995. 91L, this was before the NHC put it up to 70. We have it at 25, 1012. 6L at 30, 1009. There's that 30% and 20% AOIs in the Eastern Pacific. Franklin is at 45,002. Emily is at 50,002. There's that 70% AOI in the Eastern Atlantic. In this area is still traceable, but it's not on the map here, but it is on T-Coast, is the remnants of Fernanda. That is still traceable, and you'll see it upcoming in the Tropical Weather Bulletin, and that may enhance the winds through the big island of Hilo, as well in Maui, which if you're in Maui, that's the last thing you want to hear. Somewhere down here is the remnants of Greg, which pretty much has opened up into a tropical wave. And so there is still thunderstorms down here with what was left of Greg, but it's mainly just opened up into a tropical wave. It doesn't really have a low level circulation. We don't have it anymore on T-Coast either. And somewhere up here is still traceable and it's still on T-Coast is the remnant of Lam, of Typhoon Lan. It's still somewhere up here by Kamchatka and the Aleutian Islands of Alaska. And yes, folks, Dora, that's right, Dora. Its remnant is still traceable. It's still there in the northern western Pacific, and it's what what I believe caused the fires in the first place in Hawaii. We do have 3 areas of interest out here. Sorry, 3 invests. 98W, which is near 0% odds now. That is out here by Japan, although maybe it's 10%. I know the models wanted to put maybe this goes into Japan. What if gave rain to the Koreas was 99W? That is basically not going to form. That's near 0% odds. And down here in the very eastern parts of the Philippine Sea, actually that may not be the Philippine Sea. That might just be the open Pacific. We have 90W, which has 20% odds. There is currently nothing to watch in the South Pacific, nothing to watch in the Australian region, nothing in the Southwest Indian Ocean, and nothing in the Northern Indian Ocean. So a very busy, wide world of tropics that we have for us.
Yeah, I do want to add as well, there have been several new reports and hurricane updates and a new flash flood warning that have come out in the last 5 or so minutes.
Well, we're gonna actually take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go over it as well, as well as the tropical weather bulletin, which I believe has come out. I'm gonna see if Nathan has pushed that out yet. If not, then let me see. No, it's not come out. We're gonna be waiting on the tropical weather bulletin, and we'll show it on the stream. But regardless, you're watching Force 13, and we will be back after a quick little break.
Hi, Chris. We're on break right now. We'll be coming back in shortly.
are watching Force 13, United States and Caribbean's live streaming service.
Alrighty, we're back here at Force 13. So what just happened to the date and time? Give me 1 second. Something just happened to the date and the time. When the tropical weather bulletin gets when the tropical weather bulletin does get uploaded, we will be playing it here on the channel. It has not been updated yet, but it has not been uploaded yet. But when it does, we will play it for you. So I do apologize about that, folks. But we do have the new advisories out on Hilary and on Franklin. So those advisories are out, but before we get to those, we are going to read off the newest reports that have come in and the newest flash flood warnings. So, Samuel, that's all you.
Thank you, Jonesy. And I do want to go over several reports and new flash flood issuances that have just come out. I do want to start with multiple flash flood reports that have just come out over the last 10 or so minutes, where, as well as tropical cyclone reports, where we have multiple flash flood reports coming out of the Culver City area, which is southwest of LA. This also includes parts of San Fernando in LA County, as well as Thousand Oaks in Ventura County, as well as areas in those are all the reports that we reports out of the LA area. And I also do want to go over some other flooding reports that we have right now in San Diego, in NWS San Diego's responsibility, where we have multiple flood reports from broadcast media of Palm Springs, of flooding, as well as flooding out of 3 miles east-southeast of Riverside in Riverside County. So right now we do have ongoing. I do want to read off these specific flash flood reports, flash flood and flood reports that we have out, starting with the Palm Springs one, where we have a flood report at just over an hour ago, with a road closure from Landau Boulevard at Bremen Road, which was seen on KESQ TV in Palm Springs, and another flooding report out of Riverside, east of Riverside, where parts of I-215 Martin Luther King Boulevard, lanes 2, 3, and 4 have been flooded. There's also been multiple reports of rain ranging from 1 to 6 inches that have fallen in these areas as of over the last few hours. I do also want to go over the numerous flash flood reports that we have relayed by NWS Los Angeles.
Start with the Culver City cluster, because those are the ones that came in first, and then San Fernando came in, and then Thousand Oaks. So start with the Culver City cluster.
Yes, the Culver City cluster of reports here are all due to street and road flooding, which have caused several road closures with vehicles stranded. There's another flash flood report in Culver City with a creek overflowing into as well as a yard flood, with a yard causing nearby yard to flood. We also have a flash flood report in Thousand Oaks, where debris uh, there's debris down across the 4,000 block of North Moore Park Road between Thousand Oaks and Moore Park caused by flooding, as well as multiple flash flood reports in the Van Nuys area, where street and flood roading has closed a road with vehicles stranded, and the same reports are coming out of 4 miles northeast of Reseda. We also have multiple tropical cyclone reports relayed by NWS Los Angeles. One in south of Moore Park, where a tree was down at Santa Rosa Road and Moore Park Road. We also have another tropical cyclone report out of Oxnard, with power lines down across a roadway near Rose Avenue and Walnut Drive. And we have another tropical cyclone report with 1-inch tree limbs broken and shingles blown off in to the northwest of Van Nuys.
There's also that non-thunderstorm wind gust, 4 miles east of Yucca Pia, over in San Bernardino County. The Mesonet from the Mesonet station, SE085 at Pigsa Peak, 79 miles an hour. So that is a very strong gust for a weakening tropical cyclone. What are the new warnings that we have out? What are the new... I believe you're saying there's new flash flood warnings that we have to go over?
I believe so. Lucas, if you'd like to read out those flash flood warnings, if you have them.
I am actually currently watching the stream right now. The active warnings are up, right?
Yeah, I have them up there, but
Okay.
it doesn't list cities or whatnot, but those are all the considerables. I'm not sure exactly what are the ones that just got issued.
So the active warnings right now are Kern counties, if I read them correctly, Inyo counties, Ventura County, Los Angeles County, San Bernardino, Riverside, LA Paz, Yuma, Imperial, Los Angeles, Imperial, Riverside, San Bernardino, Riverside.
The only new county that you need to see there is Tulare.
Okay, but if you guys see these areas that are currently under a warning right now, you just need to prepare, because this is a really dangerous situation. And if your home is flooded, you need to attempt to search for a higher ground, because I have a feeling that this rain is going to probably progress within the next 48 to 72 hours. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So there is a new mesoscale precipitation discussion from the Weather Prediction Center, and this includes Nevada and California, both southern parts of their states. And it says the following: for concerning heavy rainfall with flash flooding likely. Life-threatening and locally catastrophic flash flooding is expected across large areas of Southern California as Tropical Storm Hilary advances north and brings and produces very heavy rainfall totals. Meanwhile, heavy rains and flash flooding concerns will be increasing over southern Nevada. And then it basically just talks about the rainfall rates. It talks about Tate values rising, which in the Mojave and Colorado deserts, which could mean you may see some tornadoes there around the Yuma area and areas to the north of Yuma. And it also talks about parts of the Sierra Nevadas as well as a bunch of other areas. These rains will result in life-threatening and locally catastrophic flash flooding impacts, including debris flows, landslides, and mudslides going into the evening hours. So that is from the Weather Prediction Center. And we're also looking now. We're gonna now look at the latest updates. So Tropical Storm Hilary center of Hilary has moved into Southern California. So Hilary has made it into California as a tropical storm.
50 miles an hour.
It did not make landfall in California, so that record is still there. So we've not seen landfall in California because it made landfall in Baja California, but it did make it into California as a still tropical cyclone, which we have not seen that happen in a numerous amount of years. I don't know how many years. It may have also been that landfall in 39. I don't know how many years it's been since a storm was actually tropical as it moved into California from Baja California or any of the other states there. But summary at 5 p.m., it is down to 50 miles an hour and a minimum pressure of 997. And it's located about 25 miles south-southwest of Palm Springs. So that would probably put it to the east of San Diego. The government of Mexico has discontinued the tropical storm warning south of San Jose de las Palmas on the west coast and south of Isla San Luis on the east coast of Baja California. The warning has also been discontinued south of Puerto Libertad on northwest coast of mainland Mexico. So this is where your warnings are still in effect. Baja California Peninsula west coast from San Jose de las Palmas northward, and the Baja California Peninsula east from Isla San Luis northward. This is also for mainland Mexico north of Puerto Libertad, the California-Mexico border to Point Mugu and Catalina Island. Point Mugu in California. Interests elsewhere in the southwestern U.S. should watch Hilary. At 5 p.m., the center was located near 33.5 north, 116.7 left. Hilary is moving north at 23 miles an hour and expected to accelerate even more as it moves northwestward during the next day. The center of Hilary moved across Southern California this evening. Maximum sustained winds are now down to 50 miles an hour with higher gusts. Weakening is expected, and Hilary is forecasted to become post-tropical overnight. Tropical storm force winds still go outwards up to 230 miles, that's 370 kilometers. There was recently a 45 mile an hour sustained wind with a gust of 69 miles an hour in Yuma, Arizona within the past couple of hours. And at Imperial County Airport in Imperial, California, a sustained wind of 40 miles an hour with a gust to 63 miles per hour. Rainfall amounts of 3 to 6 inches with isolated amounts of 10 are expected across Southern California with southern Nevada. Portions of Oregon and Idaho rainfall totals and parts of Montana will be 1 to 3 inches with localized maximums of 5 inches there. You'll still have the wind. Coastal flooding is possible along the north coast of the Gulf of California through early Monday. That's for the surge. And you'll still see tornadoes as well as surf causing large surf there. So let's see if we have the new cone out, and we do. So it is right there in California. Tropical storm force winds are starting to get inching close to the Vegas area. It is definitely in the LA region right now, and it is definitely in the San Diego region, and it is also getting into the valleys there. So that is a very, very large tropical cyclone.
I mean, it's even extending to the north, like to its northeast as well. I mean, there's a lot of rain like to the north, such as North Dakota, Montana.
That's not related to this.
But there's some storms like connected to this, and it's still a fairly large system. And like I said, it's gonna bring lots of rain to everything, and it's gonna. Like you said, it's going to move north and continue dumping lots of rain and strong gusty winds.
Yep, so there's that was from earlier, and obviously there's the wind history. Yeah, there's your wind history map. So obviously here's your warnings. At the full advisory, these warnings down here are going to get discontinued as it continues to move more and more northward into California. So They expect it to turn post-tropical within the next 24 hours. Now, less than that is what they're expecting. Now we're going to move over to Franklin, which is Advisory 1A in the Eastern Caribbean. NOAA aircraft data shows Franklin maintaining strength. Summary as of 8 p.m. It is 240 miles south-southeast of Isla Saona in the Dominican Republic and 280 miles south-southwest of San Juan in Puerto Rico. Maximum sustained winds are 45 miles an hour. I was looking at the 290 degree there for movement. 45 mile an hour sustained winds and moving west-northwest at 14 miles an hour, and the pressure is 1,001. No changes in the watches and warnings for this advisory, but we have a tropical storm watch in effect for Haiti, the entire south coast from Anse de Hanau eastward to the Dominican Republic border, and the Dominican Republic entire south coast from Haiti border eastward to Isla Saona. Tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible within the next 48 hours. Interest in Hispanola should monitor the progress of the storm. It's located at 14.8 north, 67.8 west. It's moving west-northwest near 14 miles an hour and expected to continue west-northwest for the next day before a sharp turn to the north. And it should approach the southern coast of Hispaniola on Tuesday, so we might actually have two storms making landfall at the same time. Data from the recent Hurricane Hunter aircraft indicate that it's 45 miles an hour with higher gusts. Some strengthening is forecasted in the next 48 hours, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 60 miles per hour. Tropical storm conditions are possible in the watch area beginning late on Tuesday, and for rainfall, 2 to 4 inches of rain with isolated higher amounts of 6 inches across Puerto Rico through the for the middle of the week, and for Hispaniola, 4 to 8 inches with isolated higher amounts of up to 12 inches for there. And we're going to take a look at the newest cone, and here is 1A, so this is where we have it, and it's going to be making a sharp turn to the north, go over Hispaniola. We'll see how strong it is when it comes off, and it still expects it to become a hurricane out there in the open Atlantic to the northeast of the Turks and Caicos and to the south of Bermuda. So we are going to wait and see what we will get on Franklin. So that is the latest advisories out on Franklin and on Hilary. As also we do have, as I mentioned, a 91L is now 70-70 there in the Atlantic, 30-70 on that in the on that area of interest in the Eastern Atlantic, and this one is still 0-20. I'm going to get up the 5 p.m. advisories for TD6, and it's only supposed to last about another 12 to 24 hours, currently 35 miles per hour on TD6, so it's not going to become anything. It is remaining steady, although it's dealing with shear, 35 miles an hour, 1,008. It's at 16.6 north, longitude of 54.7 west, and on Emily, it's going to be weakening into a depression soon and then become extratropical as its remnants are going to move up into the North Atlantic. 50 miles an hour currently and a pressure of 1,001. Tropical storm force winds 185 miles outwards from the center. So that is pretty large, actually, if you ask me, for that area. But it's mainly saying a fish storm, and it's only going to be a tropical storm for about another 24 to 36 hours before turning post-tropical and remnant low shortly after that in about 48 hours.
So, shall we move on to this area of interest in the Gulf?
I was mentioning it, and we will take a look at some of the models, what the models want on everything later on in this hour, as we also are still awaiting the upload of tonight's tropical weather bulletin.
I do want to add now that we do have an observed flash flood warning that has just been issued for Ventura
One
County.
second.
This is a new one. A flash flood damage threat is considerable, so I'm going to uh, give you the send out the details on this flash flood warning. So this flash flood warning is specifically going to be for southeastern Ventura County in southwestern California, which is going to go until 7:45 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Public has reported flash flooding from heavy rain across the warned area, with up to an inch of rain having already fallen. And additional rainfall amounts of up to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is already occurring, especially on roadways, where rock and mudslides are also reported to be ongoing in the Moore Park and Thousand Oaks areas. This is obviously going to be attributed. Another flash flood warning is attributed to Tropical Storm Hilary. This is going to include the following areas: Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Camarillo, Chatsworth, Moore Park, Newberry Park, Oak Park, and Somas. They do note that given that this is hilly terrain, there are a lot of low water crossings which can be very extremely dangerous in heavy rain, and especially in flash floods. So absolutely need to make sure that not driving towards any flooded areas if you are in Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, and surrounding areas.
Well, what we have back up was the live look at the Indian Wells Clubhouse cam, where conditions have definitely improved there in the valley. The visibility has definitely improved. The winds are still gusting, and it looks like they're getting a little break of rain as of right now. We were looking at this camera earlier in the last hour, and there were some very strong wind gusts that were occurring there, with the center of Hilary actually not being that far from this area. And actually, because the center is now close to this area, that actually might be why the conditions have improved, because it was in that right front quadrant. Now it's moving towards a little bit towards that center of the storm, so that might be why actually conditions have improved there in the Indian Wells area. Taking a look again at the San Diego harbor, there are birds flying around as it's still raining, it's still windy, and there's still plenty of coastal flooding ongoing in some of these areas. But we are indeed awaiting to see the latest on the tropical weather bulletin, and Hilary is now into Southern California. So let me just update that.
Yeah, and actually, it looks like that all the flash flood warning areas near the San Diego oceanside areas. It looks like San Diego and Oceanside are free of flash flood warnings.
For
However, I'm
now.
not sure if there are flood warnings that are ongoing in those areas, though.
There probably are. If you go to weather.gov, you can probably find some going on.
Yeah, so it looks like those areas right now. Looks like for San Diego here, these areas are under. It doesn't look like they're under any flash. Actually, there are flood warnings that are ongoing in this, I believe. No, there are no. There actually are no flood, or are they? Flash flood warnings look like they are. Yeah, it looks like the flood. I think the flood warnings are not. There. I don't think there are any type of flood warnings in effect across uh, towards the towards the coast of towards the San Diego County coast. So it looks like the flood threat might be subsiding, but heavy rain is nonetheless, I I believe, still going to be an issue in those areas. Yeah, you're definitely still getting plenty of rainfall along the parts of coastal San Diego County. But obviously, the bigger flash flood threats are off to the north and east, and up into LA County. And I do want to read out real quick. I do want to reiterate for those who are in this. According to the latest update on this flash flood warning for LA proper, this at 4:31 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Doppler radar and automated rain gauges indicated heavy rain with 1 to 2 inches of rain having fallen. And additional rainfall amounts of up to 3 inches are possible across central LA. As flash flooding is also ongoing, with some freeways and other major roads having flooded, and additionally rock and mudslides are also being reported. This does remain a PDS flash flood warning, as it still has that considerable damage tag. This is going to include Long Beach, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Malibu, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Universal City, downtown LA, Griffith Park, Culver City, Inglewood, Burbank, North Hollywood, Venice, Santa Monica, Van Nuys, Encino, Manhattan Beach, Alhambra, and Hermosa Beach.
Alrighty, well, let me
Before you start your thought there, I do also want to add, in addition, there have been two new flash flood reports that have come out recently. These are delayed reports, but there was flooding on Interstate 10 near El Monte, California, as well as bypass lanes.
well, here's a look at
Truck bypass lanes have been closed on Interstate 5 and Highway 14 near San Fernando in LA. Go ahead, Jonesy.
Well, here's a look at Hilary on infrared as it continues to weaken as it heads into California, but definitely there is still a lot of flooding rain there and all that. And there is a look at LA Harbor once again. And I'm going to play that because the tropical weather bulletin is out. And we're going to have it here right now on the air once these ads are done. So we're going to be behind the premiere. Or actually, we're going to be with the premiere. Or no, we're going to go a little bit behind the premiere a bit. So we're probably going to go about 30 seconds behind the premiere. So let me just do this. Give it some time. And we're going to do a live voiceover here, folks. Nathan did it on the actual video, but we're going to do it. Tropical Storm Franklin has formed, and it's a threat to Hispaniola in the Eastern Caribbean tonight on the Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for August the 21st. We're in code yellow here on August 21st as we've had 41 storms form thus far in this year. We've got 3 in the Atlantic. We've got Hilary there in the Eastern Pacific over California, as well as the remnants of Lan and Fernanda as we move on. It's day 82 of the Atlantic hurricane season, and we have 3 active systems, as well as that area in the Gulf, as well as over by the Cape Verdes. We have Emily, Franklin, and 6L churning in the Atlantic. We've had 1 hurricane and 6 tropical storms thus far this year. We have the remnants of Fernando as it continues to move towards the Hawaiian Islands on day 98 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season. Hilary, which is over California, and 2 areas of interest at 10 and 30% respectively. And in the Western Pacific, there's the remnants of land as well as the remnants of Dora, and we currently have 1 area of interest as the other ones are near 0. That's at a 20% odds there of formation. Yes. Not sure what it is there. North Indian and Western Pacific, I'm pretty sure, just are year-round. And there's currently no active areas in the North Indian Ocean on either side, in the Bay of Bengal or in the Arabian Sea. Well, here's Franklin now. It's currently 417 kilometers from Isla Sayona, 455 kilometers from Punta Cana, 519 from Santo Domingo, 698 from Port-au-Prince, and 866 from Cockburn Town. I had to go back a little bit. There's the tropical storm watch from Haiti, from Anse de Hainaut to Isla Sayona in the Dominican Republic. And I did have to mute the, I do have the music a little muted so we don't hear, the narration that was already done there. Franklin's going to be heading off towards Hispanola in the coming days. And we're going to be moving on towards Hilary, where we have tropical storm warnings from Punta Eugenia northwards to Point Mugu in California and Catalina Island. This was as of 5 p.m., 69 kilometers from Mexicali, 81 from Tijuana, 99 from San Diego, 268 from Los Angeles, and 427 in kilometers from Las Vegas, although it is much closer to LA and San Diego and Tijuana now. It's actually probably in the 20 kilometer to 40 kilometer range now for all of those. Moving into satellite imagery, here's a look at Hilary as it moves into California. And there's the rainfall as well. Lots of rain there for Bakersfield and Los Angeles. And it looks like some of those valleys are getting a little bit of a break, as well as San Diego getting a bit of a break. And actually, Lucas might have been right. That actually might be moisture and rain connected all the way up there into Montana and Dakotas. Moving out into the Atlantic, there's 91L over there in the Gulf, and there's Franklin in the Caribbean with 6L right behind it, still going. Excuse me. Bless me. Because of the sneeze, that's a blooper. There's Emily churning away up there, as well as what will be probably designated as 92L very soon there in the Eastern Atlantic. We're not sure when, though. 6L's still going, although it's dealing with its shear. And moving into the Eastern Pacific, back over towards Hilary, you can see those areas where the areas of interest might form there over the next few days. I look at the dry air now, and there's definitely a lot of dry air out there. There is dry air in the Gulf, but not really where 91L is going. Emily's just surrounded by dry air, and so is Franklin, but not really in the area where it is right now. 6L is also surrounded. Sea surface temperatures, definitely very piping hot there in the Gulf of Mexico where 91L is. Past 30 degrees Celsius, some areas are probably pushing close to 32 Celsius. Same with, let me go back to the Eastern Pacific real quick. Also piping hot in the Gulf of California, where the sea surface temperatures are currently over 30 degrees Celsius, going towards 31, maybe 32. Off the coast of Mexico, same story, 30, 31 degrees Celsius, and as you move more out into the open parts of the Eastern Pacific, you're pushing more 27s, 28s, and 29s off Baja California. It has cooled a little bit because of Hilary, but there is still lots of 24s and 26s, and up off the coast of California, we have 19, 20s, and 21 degrees Celsius, and it is warming up a little bit over in Hawaii, Those isotherms out there going into the 26-27 degree range. So a lot of nice sea surface temperatures there in the Eastern Pacific. Moving now into the Atlantic, as I said, the Gulf of Mexico, that is just piping hot down there. Gulf Stream also piping hot as usual. The Chesapeake Bay is actually, if a storm went in there, it actually could be at tropical storm force. That's actually surprising me. I'm seeing that at 26 degrees Celsius, all the way up there in the Chesapeake Bay. The Gulf Stream, though, off the East Coast, definitely warm at 29, 30 degrees Celsius. Up into the subtropics off of New Jersey, we've got 24 to 26. That can help a tropical storm for a little bit. In the area where Emily is currently located, not that warm, only 25, 26, 27 degrees. In the Cape Verdes, that's pushing about 28 degrees Celsius. Where Franklin is, it's in the part of the Eastern Caribbean that's not the warmest, but still enough that will help it. That's pushing about 29. Some areas pushing 30 degrees Celsius. And where Franklin will be going out here, that is definitely 29, pushing 30, 31 degrees Celsius in some parts of the open Atlantic. Where 6L is, that's about 27, 28 degrees Celsius. And of course, it's the Western Caribbean and the Bahamas, besides the Gulf, that's the warmest at 30, 31 degrees Celsius. Some areas are pushing 32, and it looks like a little area off of Louisiana actually is pushing 33 degrees Celsius. Obviously, around the Yucatan and parts of the coastal parts of Texas, it's a little cooler, but that makes sense because it's right at the coast. And of course, down here, off of these countries in South America, I'm not sure their names, it is definitely much warmer. Moving into the Western Pacific, right off the Philippines, it's warm as usual. We've got 29, 30, 31 degree isotherms all around it. Around Taiwan, we've got areas of 28 to 29. In the South China Sea and in the Gulf of, I believe that's Hainan over there. That is very warm as well, 30, 31 degree isotherms, although by South Vietnam, the areas in southern Vietnam, South Vietnam does not exist, that is only 26 degrees. In the Micronesian Islands, there's some isotherms out there of 31, pushing 32 degrees Celsius. Lots of 28, 29, and 30 degrees, though, out there in the Philippine Sea. Up by Japan, the Sea of Japan's actually very warm and could help sustain a bit of a storm up there. 26, 27 degrees, pushing 28 in some spots. Off in Japan, 28 to 29 degree isotherms. And that is why we had 99W marked for a while as it approached Korea, although it does fall off a cliff as it approaches Korea. But the East China Sea is very, very warm. Lots of 28, 29. Some areas pushing 30 degrees there in the East China Sea. And looking in the North Indian Ocean, it is monsoonal season. If anything were to happen to be out there in the Arabian Sea at this time of year, where we have 29 and 30 degree isotherms. In the Bay of Bengal, only about 28 to 29 degree isotherms, although a lot of these seas over here, I'm not sure exactly what they're called, off of Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Very, very warm waters out here. Some of these are pushing, very close to 4 degrees Celsius waters, but that's because this area of the world is very deserty. If you ever got something up there, oh boy. Off-season in the Southwest Indian Ocean, some areas off of Madagascar are still pushing about 25, 26 degrees, and also in the Australian region, while Papua New Guinea and Indonesia, usually year-round, that's at the equator, that's always going to be very hot. Some areas off of Australia, off of the northern part of Australia, usually are 24 to are about 25, 26 degrees, but there are some areas that are pushing about 27 degrees Celsius. And a look in the South Pacific, parts off to the north of Fiji, and as well as Vanuatu and New Caledonia. New Caledonia is sitting about 23, 24 degrees. North of Fiji and Vanuatu, you're seeing 26 to 27, and to the south parts of it, you've got 25 to 26, and it is very cold down there in New Zealand. Sea surface temperature anomalies pretty much across the entire world. Lots of above average. There is areas there still in the Eastern Pacific, east of Hawaii, that are still below average. That's mainly because of Calvin and Dora still. That has not recovered. But the overall Eastern Pacific, well above average, thanks to El Nino. There are some below averages, obviously, because of off-season in the Southern Pacific and in the Southwest and the Southern Indian Ocean, as well as parts of the Southern Pacific and Atlantic. But otherwise, the Eastern Pacific, well above average, and same with the Atlantic. And even the Mediterranean is actually above average, surprisingly. You could actually get a Medicaid in there if enough formed. East China Sea, Sea of Japan is also above average. Oceanic heat content map, piping hot there with those eddies in the Bahamas. That huge area of oceanic heat content in the Western Caribbean, and also that eddy that is always off Louisiana, that is now connected to this area of oceanic heat content there in the area between Cuba and the United States. In 97L, it is going to go across that eddy, so that might help it form. And there are small miniature eddies here in the Western Gulf, and that might help. Then that's going to help strengthen it over the next couple of days. So we'll see how strong that 91L ends up getting. As for where Franklin is going, I said 91L. As where Franklin is going, it's going into this area down here on the oceanic heat content, and you know, if it moves more and more westward before it's supposed to make a landfall around this point here of Hispaniola, but if it moves more westward and goes more up landfall into Haiti than on the border of Haiti and Dominican Republic, that means it could be a hurricane at landfall. We're going to have to see how far west it goes into the Caribbean before it makes that northward turn, and what area of that oceanic heat content it will tap into. Regardless, that is going to help it strengthen over the next couple of days. And there's an area down there in the MDR to watch. Looking in the Eastern Pacific, there are some areas there in the Gulf of California and Alpha California that do look very good for oceanic heat content. Obviously, the oceanic heat content in the low latitudes are doing nice. There is some oceanic heat content trying to form there off of Hawaii. Definitely some pockets there off of Japan. And of course, the Philippine Sea is recovering with its oceanic heat content, so it definitely could help some typhoons. If anything wanted to form, though, there in the Philippine Sea, although southern parts of the Philippines, there is not really oceanic heat content there right now. That's surprising. There is a little eddy there in the South China Sea. Moving towards the computer models, let's take a look at what the models are showing, and I'll show you the other models later, but this is what the GFS is showing from Nathan's the Nathan's thing. So there goes 6L, there goes Emily, they end up diving off. There goes Franklin after it makes landfall. That is what may get marked as 92L very soon. There's Franklin, and both look like they're going to become some nice tropical storms, definitely some hurricanes. Franklin might become a bare minimum hurricane there, but it looks like that it's going to be the one that's off at the Cape Verdes is the one that's going to form the most. There's what's left of Hilary, and you're going to see that wind mark inland, and there's what's the Gulf system going to be. It's definitely going to get to, according to the models, it's going to get to tropical storm force, but it may not get that far past it. So there's the winds as it goes inland, definitely going well into Nevada, and of course there is 91L in the Gulf. Gets the tropical storm force before making landfall in southern Texas. Southern Texas, maybe northeastern Mexico. So we're going to have the system form there very, very soon. Looking here in the Eastern Pacific, do we have that tropical storm? Maybe gets a tropical storm before heading up into Honduras, El Salvador. Into those areas, you don't really see that this time of year, a system that forms that far south and then makes a northeast into Central America. That's more later in the year thing, but it doesn't do that, and we're not really sure what's going to happen, the models. That's over the next 5 days. We'll see what the other AOI does. Here's the rainfall. The rainfall forecasts for Franklin, for parts of the parts of Hispaniola, as well as for Puerto Rico. It looks like 15 inches, maybe even more for some areas there in Hispaniola. 11.5 in the north half. Looks like 8.3 for parts of Haiti, as well as 6.7 there in Hispaniola. 16.7 off of the shore. Looks like anywhere from about 3 to 5, maybe 6 inches of rain there for Puerto Rico. So it looks like the DR is going to get the most of the rain. Haiti, you'll get some rain, but probably not a lot from Franklin, as we are going to wait and see. Moving into the longer range. Now there's Franklin, and it strengthens into a very nice hurricane. So does that over there, and it looks like that it wants to take now off towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So Franklin in the longer range run, so this is outside the 5-day period, so this is the 5 to 10 day range, maybe a little longer, might become something to watch for Atlantic Canada. We'll see what happens there. So Atlantic Canada, just after getting hit by Fiona last year, and Larry the year before, that's something we might have to watch. In the longer range, looks like a very broad system may become a typhoon strength that forms there in the Western Pacific. That is a very large system, although I'm not necessarily sure how tropical that's going to be, because that looks like it's connected to a front, if you ask me. It looks like it tries to detach from its front, and maybe a smaller system forms. Obviously, you can buy the merch there. The Force 13 merch, if you scan the barcode there. And obviously, the world-famous Still Waiting for Hone shirts. And now let's move into the silly range. So what does this silly range have for us? It looks like that system, it's going to be moving out into the open ocean, but it looks like maybe another storm off the Cape Verdes. And that could be a very significant hurricane. It's going to it might be a hurricane that lasts a while. That's in the silly range, though, so it probably won't last that long. It probably won't last that long on the models, so who knows what that storm will do, if it even, stays for all that. But that is silly range. We really don't expect stuff in the silly range to last that long. Looks like a small tropical storm might get the typhoon strength there off the western Pacific, so that large broad system might go into Japan, and looks like we're getting a bunch of Fujiwara happening there in the Western Pacific. Well, that's why it's the silly range, folks, because the silly range has a lot of very interesting type stuff, if you ask me. The silly range is very interesting, and it looks like that storm ends up dying out. Don't forget, the Force 13 Eastern Tour will be happening in Athens, Greece on September the 6th, September 8th to 9th in Singapore and Indonesia, Cebu in the Philippines the 11th through the 15th, and Hong Kong will be later on in September the 17th through the 18th. Make sure you join the Discord, discord.gg/Force13, as you can track the storms live and talk to our team there live as well, and you'll see the latest updates and future TWBs. On this day in 1998, we had an unnamed system in the South China Sea. We had Hurricane Howard as a Category 1, and we also had Tropical Storm Bonnie, and that looks like that's the image of Bonnie as a tropical storm. Eventually maybe becomes a hurricane as it moved past the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. And Charlie, 6 years early, before it became that Cat 4 that went into southwestern Florida, it was a tropical storm in the western Gulf that affected Texas and parts of northeastern Mexico. On this day, it is powered by the Cyclone History team. Well, we're in code yellow here on August 21st. The next name in the Atlantic is Gert, followed by Harold. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Irwin, followed by Jova. And the Central Pacific, everybody with me now, the next name is Hone. Wow, damn, that was kind of weak. In the Western Pacific, the next names are Saola and Damri, and in the North Indian Ocean, the next names are Tej and Hamoon. In the Australian region, the next names are Jasper and Kirili. In the Southwest Indian Ocean, Alvaro and Bilal. And in the South Pacific, Lola and Mal. That's it for tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin, and we'll have another one tomorrow. And that's the Tropical Weather Bulletin that was done by Nathan. So, everybody clap it up for Nathan in the chat, as now we go back into our live coverage.
We're now joined by Simcon.
Well, that was a lot of reading I had to do, and a lot of narration. Alright, but this is what Hillary looks like right now on the infrared, and let's take a look at some of the other systems on the infrared. So here's Emily, and its thunderstorms are well off to the north, while it looks like the low-level circulation is exposed, so Emily might actually become a tropical depression or a remnant low way quicker than the NHC thinks. So Emily is definitely one of those exposed systems. Alrighty, let's take a look. 6L. 6L, well, this is basically the eastern parts of Franklin. 6L is this essentially right here. It's got some nice cloud tops still on it. They don't expect it to last long because of the wind shear, and you can even see that wind shear moving on the infrared, I believe. But, you know, 6L may actually beat out the odds, and, you know, it still might actually have thunderstorms on it. And it might actually last longer than they think, but it is definitely getting very much sheared. So we probably might not see much longer on that. This was Franklin, which was originally PTC 8, and looks like it has two main areas of thunderstorms. It's got the one main area here around its center, and you have another area out to the east over parts of the Lesser Antilles. There was an area over here that I guess to the west of it, but that's not a part of the system. So definitely, Franklin it's looking very nice, and we'll see how much it strengthens during the overnight as we have now hit 9 p.m. here on the East Coast. We already took a look at Hillary. Let's take a look here at 91L in the Gulf. So, 91L is not getting its act together right now. There might be some shear. It looks like the thunderstorms are kind of going away right now, although these thunderstorms over Cuba and the Florida Key areas are firing up on it. So, looks like the thunderstorms to the north are going away from it. So, I believe the area of circulation is right in here, I believe. So we'll see what happens with 91L. Right now it looks kind of meh, but give it some time to get over into those eddies and it will be fine. And what is this I see? 92L. Oh, did the ATCF actually invest this now? Do we actually now have 92L? Did they invest this? Yes, they did. So that area of circulation that area of interest out in the Eastern Atlantic is now 92L. So we now have 92L as an invest. So out in the Cape Verdes, that's it right out there. Yep, 92L has now been designated. So that means I'm gonna have to update that. I'm gonna have to update that again. God damn.
Yeah, you're definitely seeing Atlantic activity in the Atlantic has been exploding over the last 24 hours, which is absolutely remarkable. Seeing how much activity we have in spite of an El Nino that we have ongoing, and even the amount of wind shear that we have in parts of the in the North Atlantic right now. Definitely indicator definitely indicator of just how favorable how much of the Atlantic, basically how much of the Atlantic Ocean is favorable in terms of oceanic heat content for activity. But I do also want to point out that more flash flood reports are coming in um, out of Los Angeles County, where parts of I-5 near Magic Mountain Parkway, the majority of those lanes have been flooded. There's also roadway flooding going on near Van Nuys, California. Roadway flooding has been reported near Armida Street and Stagg Street.
Well, the Atlantic now officially has no areas of interest. It's all either storms or invests. Oh, that is fun. It's now just the Eastern Pacific with your areas of interest. Yeah, no, that's a pleasant surprise to see. I knew that it was going to get designated as 92L, and I was saying that during the tropical weather bulletin. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger on it this soon. You know,
they actually pulled the trigger, huh?
Yeah, they pulled it early on it this soon. That actually caught me a little off guard, if you ask me. I didn't think they were going to do it this soon, but they did, so, heh.
Yeah, I believe that is our second disturbance. That is what the NHC has designated as disturbance 2, which is now obviously 92L, unless I am mistaken.
That is now 92L, that is correct.
Yeah, I do want to note that this is a 30% chance of forming in the next 48 hours, with a 70% chance over the next week. Tropical depression. Do know tropical depression is likely to form later this week while it moves west-northwestward across the eastern tropical Atlantic. I believe this is going to be one of those storms that will stay out to sea, which is a good thing. Which really leaves Franklin and it's a 91L.
Yeah.
Be the other one that's that are threats to land. And 6 will be dying off in short trouble, and TD6 will be dying off in short order.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say this.
Go for it.
91L it'll either stay as a tropical storm thanks to the potential speed shear it's going in, but if it's able to actually defy the speed shear, it could end up being something big. So we gotta.
I don't know about that because the models don't have it being that long, and it doesn't have that much time to develop.
Yeah, you've got a point, but it's just something that's been on the mind recently. It's just those Gulf waters, though.
Yep, so the sector file has 92L as 20 knots, 1008. So I'm gonna tend to agree with them on that. I'm gonna go with that because we didn't actually have that originally. So that's 25 miles an hour, 1,008 on 92L. Well, this is gonna look a little scrunched together, but oh well.
I wouldn't be surprised if 91L got PTC'd here soon.
They said that warnings and watches might be needed tomorrow. I was reading what I'm saying. Whatchamacallit? They were saying that warnings and watches may be needed tomorrow for parts of Texas and Mexico, so that might be... We may see PTC soon.
Yeah, and I would also add to that I believe at this point I would say that Hillary is pretty much going to be kicking off what could be a string of impacts across of tropical cyclone impacts across North America, as you do have this on 91L heading towards Texas and Mexico. So that could be a double whammy for Mexico on both sides. And then you have Franklin, which could also pose a significant threat to the Dominican Republic, as well as Haiti and potentially Puerto Rico.
Absolutely. I just want to go ahead and point out that now the cities in California of Mojave, Rosamond, California City, North Edwards, and Boron are now in a flash flood warning. So there's 42,000 people in that warning, 22 schools. This is going to go until 9:15 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time tonight in Rosamond, Mojave, California City, North Edwards, and Boron, California. And I believe that is exclusively in Kern County. Yes, it is. Just southeastern Kern County until 9:15 Pacific Daylight Time. Let's see here. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. It doesn't give any. The warning text doesn't give any numbers of rainfall right now, but if you are in those areas, again, just to look at all the areas around here: Desert Lake, Baker, Boron, North, or basically all the area around Edwards Air Force Base, Mojave, California City, Rosamond, and over in the general direction of Double Mountain and Covington Mountain, basically just at the foot of those, and south of Mountain Valley Airport. Mountain Valley Airport's actually in a separate flash flood warning now, but you folks in Mojave, Rosamond, California City, and around Edwards Air Force Base, you are now under a flash flood warning with rainfall associated with Tropical Storm Hilary.
Yep, and I think this is going to be where we take another break here, as I kind of need one because I've been letting my dinner sit. As we did do the live TWB in the last update, there have been some more flash flood warnings come in. Oh, a non-thunderstorm wind gust report just came in from Orange County of 53 miles an hour, so still gusting is Hillary. We'll take a look at what all the models say when we come back on all the storms, and you're watching Force 13, and we will be right back. That's not the countdown.
You're watching Force 13, United States and Caribbean's live streaming service.
Alright, we're back here at Force 13, and we're going to take a look at the models now on what all the models are saying. And we're not going to use the precipitation. We're going to use the 10-meter wind one. So there's Hilary, it's low pressure. What they were saying actually would be in 6 hours. This was the 18Z GFS. I don't think the 0Z has come out just yet. So this is essentially where Hilary is right now. That is actually accurate. And the winds are about that. And let's move it forward now, and that's a glitch. So Hilary's not going to be up there. It's going to be like here at 6Z, by 6Z, and by 12Z it's going to be over there. There is the forming there of 91L, and let's see how much it forms. Again, ignore that. That's just a glitch. And that looks like it's going to get towards tropical storm force right in there by 0Z tomorrow. And yeah, that's definitely going to be that looks like it's going to be a low-end tropical storm as it makes landfall very early on Tuesday, around 1,000 millibars. So that's going to be a quick hitting storm. It is going to drop a nice amount of rain as we go into the precip, and you can see it's got plenty of rain in there with that system, while Slight Risk is out on the excessive rainfall outlook for what is 92L. Let's keep moving on into the run. There goes Franklin after Hispanola. We'll go exactly to Franklin later, and you know, that becomes a nice looking system. That becomes a nice looking hurricane, or close to hurricane, as then it goes up and might actually deepen out a bit there in the 950s before going off into Atlantic Canada. And now we're moving a bit into the Scilly range. Looks like there's something in the Eastern Pacific out there in the Scilly range, and now we're in the Ultra Scilly range, and nothing really much in the Ultra Scilly range on the GFS. We're gonna move now to the rest of the Eastern Pacific. So that was what was Hilary. There that goes. There's that one system that might go up in as a weak tropical depression, tropical storm, right there into El Salvador, Honduras, into that tri-point. And looks like by the middle of the week there might be another system that tries a weak system that goes out into Mexico. And now moving into longer range, there's a system right out there, a nice little hurricane actually out there in the Eastern Pacific before it moves out and weakens as it goes out to sea, and nothing else in the Ultra Scilly range. Alright, let's move into the Western Atlantic. So there's 6L right over there. Here comes Franklin as it forms. And then it moves northward into Hispaniola. Comes off of Hispaniola. There's what's going to be left of Emily right over there. It may have a rejuvenate form up there as it goes into the subtropics. And then it looks like the GFS wants to have 956 for Franklin. And there's the other system, 92L, as a hurricane before that ends up going off and out to sea. Looks like maybe something tries to form here off the Carolinas in the Gulf Stream before getting pulled out to sea as well. And looks like nothing else in the ultra Scilly range. Let's go into the overall Atlantic. So let's see what we have. So there's Emily right now. There's Franklin forming. Emily not going to be a tropical storm much longer. There's 92L as it continues to form. And it looks like we may have 2 hurricanes at once between Franklin as well as 92L. Dueling hurricanes. And it looks like that the GFS wants to take Franklin up into Newfoundland, but also affecting Nova Scotia. And then 92L in the Scilly range might bring some swells to Bermuda in the East Coast. And into the Ultra Scilly range, it looks like, into the Scilly range / Ultra Scilly range, it looks like maybe another system that forms as a hurricane off the Cape Verdes. And a little bit of a cliffhanger there. So that's something we're going to have to wait and see on that. And should we go to the Western Pacific? We will go to the Western Pacific and take a look at what's going on up there. So nothing really much forming there. Maybe a tropical depression that forms in the East China Sea. Not enough to designate that yet, but another one goes into Korea maybe. Maybe a weak tropical storm, subtropical storm up by parts of Japan. Looks like maybe 2 moving into a bit of the longer range. That actually became a very significant extratropical system up there by the Aleutian Islands. Wow. Looks like this might get to typhoon strength over here, and it looks like a tropical depression is forming in the Philippine Sea, and it might go over by Taiwan. Actually, no, that's what's supposed to Fujiwara, as that typhoon may go into Japan. And then the other one, it basically gets shredded as we move into the Scilly range. And then obviously there's nothing else over into that. Let's move to the European models. And everybody's probably wondering, what is going to happen? What is the Euro saying about all our systems? Well, we're going to start here in the Western Pacific. We'll see what the Euro model has. Does the Euro want to pick up on any of these storms? Survey says, oh, no, not really. But the Euro extended model is 12Z, as the 0Z is not out. Let's see what the 12Z model on the Euro says. And looks like the Euro only wants to pick up on that East China Sea storm, so that might be something we may have to mark over the next few days. That might be something we have to mark over the next couple of days. Alright, let's move back to the Eastern Pacific. I'm just going to tell you right now, we're probably not expecting much. Whoa, what was that we just saw? Give me 1 second. So there goes Hilary up into there, and the Euro doesn't really pick up on 92L, although now moving into the longer range, the Euro wants something to form off the Yucatan, affect Cuba, and maybe affect the Big Bend as a hurricane. So that's interesting what the Euro is doing. That's just a random new storm. That's at the 240 range. That's moving into the longer range, although we did not see the GFS do that, so that just might be Euro shenanigans. That might just be Euro model shenanigans. You know, the Euro does like to run some shenanigans every now and then, just like the GFS likes to do. let's move into the full-on Western Atlantic, and it does have Franklin form? Yeah, it does form Franklin, but not... Actually, no, I guess the Euro doesn't really want Franklin to form. Didn't really want Franklin to form. Or no, it did form Franklin. It just has to go more west, but more as a tropical wave. Does it form it out in the open Atlantic? Yes, so it does. So the Euro has it actually taking much longer to get to Canada. Actually, we don't even know if the Euro wants to get it to Canada. And then there's what the Euro wants to do in the longer to Scilly range, although I've not seen any other model pick up on that, so I highly doubt that what the Euro is saying is going to happen. And let's move to the overall North Atlantic. Obviously, there's Emily, the remnants of Emily. There goes 92L. Does the Euro want to do anything with 92L? Not really. Then there goes another thing off of Africa, and it might become a short-lived tropical storm. And it looks like it may try to do another thing off the coast of Africa. So it looks like the Euro model wants to have the wave train open up. Let's move on to the Icon model, and let's see what the Icon model wants to do. There's what's left of 6L. There goes Franklin. There Emily ends up dying off. 92L becomes another short-lived system. It looks like the Icon does a short-lived tropical storm. There's something that goes into Mexico down there in the Eastern Pacific. Another system that comes off of Africa. Maybe it's a tropical depression. And Franklin just ends up stalling out over here. By the time we get to next Monday. I do apologize about that. So, it looks like some of the other models want Franklin to take much longer. Looking at the nav gem, although the nav gem is wanting to have Franklin just go crazy. So it looks like 92L wants to have go crazy. Does the nav gem form that? Maybe as a TD and whatever into there, and then obviously we don't look at the JMA. What does the Canadian model have for us? The Canadian does form Franklin, but the Canadian actually wants to reform Emily as a hurricane, and it looks like that might actually be the case. I think the GFS wanted that. Looks like there's another hurricane to go by Mexico, and the Canadian does also want to pull it towards Atlantic Canada, and it looks like that the Canadian doesn't want to do anything with 92L, or it does, but only weak storm, but it does end up doing something with the storm behind it, what will come off. That will probably get designated in a couple days' time. So that's what the CMC is doing. Let's move into the Eastern Pacific and see what the Canadian ends up doing. That's what was Hilary. Maybe another hurricane there, and that'll raise the coast of Mexico before going off and weakening. The Icon. What do you got for me, Icon, out here in the Eastern Pacific? Not much, it looks like. The Icon is not going to do much in the Eastern Pacific, so it looks like it's going to close off, although the Icon may try to form something there in the Gulf at the end of the run. Gulf of Mexico. Does the nav gem want to do something? That's what was Hilary, and it looks like the nav gem wants to form another monster system to follow on the trails. I don't think that would go up towards California, but the NavGem wants to have another system go crazy there in the Eastern Pacific. I've not really seen any other model pick up on that. And now we go to the Western Pacific as we end our model tour here in the Westpac, and the NavGem still has the Westpac closed for business. Let's see what the Canadian does. The Canadian wants to have a typhoon go into Canadian does want to have a typhoon go into Japan, so we may get a typhoon eventually, and then there's a broad system forming right there. And then what does the icon bring us? The icon is bringing us maybe a tropical depression or an invest that forms out there by Guam and the North Marianas, and it's going to be a weak tropical depression or storm as it moves off towards Japan. So it looks like that the global models are in agreement that we might get something that moves over towards Japan. We're just not sure how strong it is. And another thing it looks like the global models are agreeing on, it looks like we're going to have an area of interest or an invest to watch in the East China Sea, just like we just had 99W before it moves eastward into the Koreas. As for the Eastern Pacific, what we're going to have to watch is some of these areas over here by Mexico, El Salvador, and Honduras. Definitely going to watch the Gulf for that, for 91L, and then we're going to see what Franklin ends up doing, what 92L ends up doing, and then what some of those other systems that the models are showing end up doing. Alright, I'm going to bring it back now to my team, as we're going to continue to go over watches and warnings. Obviously, there's the tornado risk, although because of it being it is still daylight over there, but not for much longer, so the tornado risk might heighten over the next couple hours, but maybe not much. And we're going to see, has the rainfall risk changed? Yes, so only 6 to 10 now for some of the mountains there. So the rainfall totals are starting to come down a little bit. Has the new outlook come out yet for day 1? I do not believe it has. No, yes it has, and they are maintaining the risk as is. Alright, so I'll bring it back to my team, and I'll bring up the GR2 if there's any new reports you guys want to go over. Oh, here's actually one that I will read off. Actually, I'll read a couple off. There's a 52-mile-an-hour non-thunderstorm wind gust by Oceanside, a 44-mile-an-hour one also by Oceanside. Here's a flood report. This is not a flash flood, a flood report. 5 miles east of Paris in Riverside County. Law enforcement. Montgomery Ave and Nuevo Road. Mud and flooding in the area. Reporting party, which is law enforcement, is concerned that the road will wash away over by Paris, Nuevo, and Lakeview. So if you're in these areas, you need to make sure you evacuate, because the road might wash away there. Alright, I'm going to send it back to my team so they can read off these warnings and reports.
So, about 5 minutes ago, there was a flash flood warning that came out in Los Angeles County. This is for basically almost all of Los Angeles County, so it includes just some of the cities in the way here. We're looking at Lancaster, Palmdale, Vincent, Santa Clarita, San Fernando, Castaic, Lake Hughes, Calabasas, Malibu, Solramar, Glendale, Los Angeles itself, Arcadia, and Pomona, and South Whittier, and north side of Inglewood, you're under a flash flood warning. So there are over 7.3 million people in this flash flood warning, and I know because I lived in Southern California for a little over 8 years of my earlier life, that I know California isn't used to this kind of thing. When you're under a flash flood warning, you want to make sure you go to a higher area of elevation. Even if you have a 2-story house, you could go to the upper floor and stay and get to a safer place up there in case your home were to flood. Heaven forbid that it does. Well, we want you to be taking your precautions. So for Los Angeles County, Torrance, Lakewood, and Long Beach, you are not in this warning. But all the other places, Inglewood points north to the county border, you are now under a flash flood warning. As well, furthermore, video came in from Brandon Kopic on X showing a massive debris plug heading in the direction of Palm Springs, crossing Interstate 10. So if you are out near Interstate 10 and Palm Springs, I would recommend that you just stop at if you can get to a higher place by getting off of 10, do that. This I don't really know what to say with that situation. That is a horrifying video that came in from Storm Chaser Brandon Kopic. Looks like basically all of Southern California from Indio points north just about is under a flash flood warning. Some of these are considerable. In fact, a good chunk of these are considerable. The one around the city of Bakersfield is not. The one that mentioned earlier, Roseman, Mojave, California City, North Edwards Air Force Base is not. However, the north side of Mojave is actually under a considerable flash flood warning as well. That's going to go until 11 p.m. Pacific. And again, if you can get to a higher area of elevation on the top, maybe on the top of a hill of some kind, or just on the second floor of your house. I know there's a lot of 2-story suburban homes in Southern California. If you don't live in one, perhaps maybe you could try to go to your neighbor's house and knock on their door. I'm sure they'd let you in. But please do everything in your power to not become a statistic in this storm.
Absolutely, and I do also want to point out that the latest excessive rainfall outlook has come out not too long ago, and they are obviously going to maintain a high risk of excessive rainfall into the overnight hours. We also did get a report of a flash flood report, more so a landslide report, out of Morongo Valley in San Bernardino County, where law enforcement reported that a rock slid off of a mountain and into a roadway at State Route 62 in Hess Road. It was about reported around almost half an hour ago.
Oh, and the flash flood warning for the central to northern part of Los Angeles County, so basically the one that's Inglewood points north, that just went considerable. So
A little bit of feedback in your mic.
So this is a very dangerous situation now for LA Metro points north. If you are in places like Lancaster, Palmdale, Santa Clarita, Thousand Oaks, western side of Ontario, Los Angeles itself, and even down to Long Beach now. So all of LA County is now under a, I believe, it's all considerable now. All considerable flash flood warning for the entirety of Los Angeles County.
Los Angeles County, the entire county, you said?
The whole county of Los Angeles County is under a considerable flash flood warning.
I see.
As of, it basically just came out a couple minutes ago. So, again, we want everybody to be, if possible, we want you to move to a higher area of elevation, whether that be going up a hill or it be, honestly, in these conditions, you shouldn't even be on the roadway to begin with. So hopefully your house has a second floor. If it doesn't, hopefully you have a neighbor next door that has a second floor, and they're willing to let you in. Most people will let you in, especially in situations like this. I hate to say it, but sometimes it's situations like this that could really bring people together for about 2 days.
All right.
But do everything in your power to get to a place of safety.
Couldn't agree more with that. I definitely could not agree any more than with what you has just said.
Yeah, so...
Alright, if anybody in the chat has any questions, comments, concerns, we'll answer them for you here at Force 13, and we will show it to you live, and we will answer your question live here on the air. We'll be on the air with you for it looks like about another 15 minutes we'll be on the air with you. And it looks like, according to Brandon Kopic, he tweeted this out. There's a massive debris plug flooding heading towards I-10. So not only was the rivers and the washes there having raging water, but now there's a debris plug heading down into the washes as well. So there is a debris plug heading towards the Palm Springs area. And State Route 111 is washed out on the westbound side north of Palm Springs as well. So there are roads that are getting washed out. There is a road washout from heading up Whitewater Canyon Road north of I-10 in Whitewater, California. Vince Valenti tweeted out a video from that. So definitely there is a lot of flooding ongoing there. There's torrential rainfall and flooding across the highway of I-10 in the state of California. There is debris and mud that is happening in Wrightwood in California. There are mudslides ongoing due to the rain from Hilary. And obviously in Cathedral City and in the Coachella Valley, there's knee-high floodwaters. Massive boulders from rock slides are blocking parts of Interstate I-8 near Octillo. So there is plenty of stuff ongoing, and obviously we did see all the flooding and mudslides occurring in Baja California Sur and also Baja California Norte because of the because of Hilary. So Hilary is causing a lot of rain, a lot of flooding, a lot of mudslides there in the California area.
So we got a question in the chat came in from Hurricane Alban Ebra 913. Says at force 13, if tornadoes form, would they be an EF0? And I have to answer this one.
Probably.
Basically, a
Go ahead.
a tornado is rated by the damage it creates, so it is impossible to know what a tornado's strength is, much less before it happens, but even when it's happening. So, I just want to throw that out there. It is a damage scale. It is not a wind scale or hybrid scale.
And even so, if tornadoes do form and they do touch down, they probably would, once they get rated probably around that EF0, maybe EF1 area, because tornadoes that spawn in tropical cyclones, they don't really, they're not rated very highly. They don't really get that strong. So while yes, they would be probably EF0 strength, we won't know the exact rating until after they go out and assess the damages.
Right, and I want to stress this too. If it does happen, and I would say that I think at least for the time being, the threat is going down more and more as the time goes along. However, if a tornado were to happen, doesn't matter if it's EF0, EF1 strength, that tornado can be deadly. Even a EF0 can push over a tree onto a home or a sidewalk, and that could cause severe injury, if not worse. So, I want to stress that too. If you see something like that, if you see what you think is a tornado, take your precautions. And I know a lot of people might not know, because California doesn't have to deal with that sort of thing very often. So if that does happen, I know a lot of these places don't even have basements. So we want you to be on the it's hard when you have flash flooding and the chance for tornadoes.
A lot of these places don't even have second floors besides basements. They're really one-floor buildings.
So if a tornado warning were to come out, we want you to try to prioritize that first if you are able to. And if you are able to, we mean lowest floor,
most interior
structure,
room.
Most interior room, away from windows, and we want you to have a sturdy pair of shoes and a helmet or a pillow or a mattress to put over your head. And that's an if. The reality is we've got a 2% tornado risk. However, that is 2% higher than we'd like it to be. So we want you to be in a place where you can enact those precautions if you need to. But for the time being, if you are in a flash flood warning, and a big chunk of SoCal is, we want you to be on the highest level. And if something changes, of course, we will let you know about that. Your local NWS offices will let you know about that. Hopefully, you know what office is in your area. If you're in LA County, it's the one in Oxnard. If you're in around San Diego or Oceanside or Carlsbad, it would be the office in San Diego. As this thing works, as this storm works further to the north, this will eventually. We got the Edwards radar up there. That's in Oxnard's territory. Eventually, once this crosses into Nevada, of course, this will enter Vegas's territory. So, hopefully, everyone in the way of this, you know that, and you have a way to get your information, whether it be your local NWS office's website, their social media account. Just make sure you have a way to get your information from those sources, just in case, like, heaven forbid, something happens. Aside from the flash flooding, it's obvious that the flash flooding is causing issues. We've already seen some of the things that it's doing, and
Mm-hmm.
And please, again, do everything in your power to not become a statistic. If a tornado warning happens, we want you to be on the lowest level if possible. But for the time being, if you're in a flash flood warning, be on the highest level that you possibly can be to protect yourself from the flood waters.
Is this the first time there has been a tropical storm and an earthquake on the same exact day in California? I mean, probably. There's, tropical storms don't usually happen in California, so in recorded record, probably. What we have up now is the latest day one outlook from the Storm Prediction Center, severe-wise, so the slight risk is gone, and it's just a marginal risk. And they did eliminate a bunch of the marginal risk here in Southern California, along the border region, and also a lot of it in Arizona. It looks like they got rid of it from Phoenix as well. So here's what we have. A 2% tornado risk still is in effect for Vegas, Henderson, Paradise, Sunrise Manor, North Las Vegas, and going into parts of southwestern Utah, northwestern Arizona, and that's probably eastern California, we'll call that. There is still a 5% wind risk for the entirety of the marginal, which is 3 million people, 2.3 million people for the tornado risk, and there is no hail risk. Obviously, the 2% risk tomorrow for 9 million people is that marginal risk, no tornado risk. The wind risk is for exactly 9 million people, and there's 6 million people for a hail risk for tomorrow, but I'd say probably about a million, maybe less of that is up there in the Duluth area. And then obviously your marginal risk on the day 3 is going to be because of 92L over there in the, this will happen in the state of Texas. So obviously here's your tropical weather outlook. Again, there's Emily, there's 92L, there is which it won't be, they won't have it as 92L until the next tropical weather outlook in 6 hours. There's 91L, here is Franklin, and here is TD6. Moving into the Eastern Pacific, here's an area of interest that they have there. That's where Hilary is, obviously, and in the Central Pacific, absolutely nothing is expected in the next 7 days. And there's been a lot of stuff moving into the Central Pacific this year. Obviously, you had Calvin, you had Dora, you had Greg, Fernandez moved out that way, but nothing that actually formed in the Central Pacific, so there is still no how nay. Alright, well, we're coming down to our final few minutes, so if any of the team want to give their final thoughts on Hilary, as well as for interest in Hispaniola, as well as northeastern Mexico and southern Texas. When it comes to Franklin and 91L, you definitely can do so. I did see someone that did ask, what is our focus going to be on when it comes to the U.S. side of things after Hilary is done? Is it going to be 91L? Well, I will say that Force 13 U.S. is the U.S. and Caribbean, and Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. So that means we're going to be watching both Franklin and 91L very closely to see what those end up doing. So that is going to be our focus once Hilary is done. Obviously, we'll have excessive rainfall and severe weather outlook stuff for 91L, and obviously we're going to keep an eye on Franklin after that. There was recon into Franklin earlier. Actually, that might be active recon in Franklin. I'm not exactly sure. That looks like it was from earlier. Yeah, it looks like that was from earlier. So they did finish for recon. I'm not sure when the next recon is going to be. Let me see. Okay, aircon for today and for tomorrow. So here we go. For today, it was just for the area in the Eastern Caribbean. And a possible low-level invest over the Central Gulf. So tomorrow, they are going to have 2 recons. They're going to have 2 recons for both Franklin, which was 90L, as well as 91L, which is in the Gulf. And they're going to do 6 hourly fixes if 91L remains a threat. and it looks like they're going to have some more stuff for Franklin as well. So definitely there's going to be no requirements for the Pacific, so there is going to be recon for 91L tomorrow, and there will also be more recon for Franklin. No other systems are going to be getting recon at this time. Alright, so we're going to go into the final thoughts now. So I'm going to start, I'll end with you, Josh. I'm going to start with you, Simkhani. What are your final thoughts?
What?
Just Hillary in general. Do you have any words to those that are in California still getting affected? And do you have some words for those in Hispaniola, Southern Texas, and Northeastern Mexico that are going to get affected by 91L and Franklin? Do you have any final thoughts?
A minute.
All right,
The best.
we'll come back.
Honestly, no. At
advice.
the moment, not really.
All right, Samuel, I'll go to you. Any final thoughts?
I just want to put out that those of you who are in I do want to note that as these threats will continue, these impacts are going to be felt well to the north of the current areas, parts of Southern California that are seeing flash flooding right now. Do expect flash floods to continue up north into parts of Nevada, including the Las Vegas metro, into parts of Utah, and all the way up into potentially up into Idaho. As we've been seeing that this has mainly been not much more than, or no more, no less, a flash flooding threat. The only, pretty much with the tornado threat being second to that threat, as it looks like conditions may become more primed as Hillary continues to move further inland. That with the land interaction, this could help to spin create some brief spin-ups within the storm. So please make sure that you are not only taking action against flash floods, but also against tornadoes, so that you are able, and make sure that you have a plan in place to prepare as Hillary continues its trek further north up the western United States.
Alrighty, do you have any words for those in Texas about 91L, and also for those in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico about Franklin?
So for those areas, please make sure that you have a hurricane preparedness plan in place. Make sure that you are right now is the time to be taking action. Regardless of how strong these storms get, you want to prepare for in case you want to prepare for the possibility of these storms making strong landfalls in these areas, and you want to make sure that if you are put under any evacuation orders, whether it's from storm surge or flooding, that you heed those to the utmost urgence.
Alright, and then Josh, I will end with you with your final thoughts on, for those in California, in the Southwest when it comes to Hillary, and then for the obviously for those if they have to evacuate, make sure they stay safe, and then for those who are preparing for Franklin in Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and those preparing for 91L in South Texas and northeastern Mexico.
Just basically what Sammy said. If evacuation orders come out, if you are put under certain warnings, you need to take every single precaution to protect yourself. This is I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but stuff like this, it really can be a matter of life and death, and we plead that everybody takes these situations with the utmost seriousness, even if it seems ridiculous, if the storm is not if it's not a hurricane, if it's not a big, gigantic, intense hurricane, doesn't matter. The wind is not what can really do the damage. Well, although it does, but the vast, vast, vast majority of damage from systems like Hilary, systems like Franklin potentially, it's the floodwater, it's the storm surge once these things do make landfall in areas. And we've seen that today with Hilary. So if you are in the way of Franklin, if you're in the way of 91L, if you're in the way of any of these, I want you to be just have a way to get information from your local offices so you know what's going on. Hopefully you have a way of getting information about just all of these storms from the National Hurricane Center, and just be weather aware, because situations can go really, really bad in a heartbeat, and we want everybody to be ready to take precautions as necessary.
Alright, those are some fantastic words. I'm just checking the radar sites real quick before I play the imagery out to end us out. It looks like that some of the rain might be lightening up a little bit, which is good for a lot of these areas in California that do not need any more of this rain. But there are still flash flood warnings there, plenty of flash flood warnings, and the rain's going to keep going throughout the night, so definitely make sure you take those precautions and make sure you do stay safe and all that kind of stuff. That's going to do it for our coverage tonight. We will have another tropical weather bulletin for everyone tomorrow. I do see what someone was talking about with Franklin. It looks like it's trying to make an eye on infrared, but I don't think it's already that strong. It might just be the diurnal heating or whatever. That might just be diurnal heating or whatnot just happening.
That is not an eye. That is 100% not an eye. I can tell you that much. It's like the top of the cold air tops were spreading out. It's creating like a ring.
Yeah,
ring in it. But that is not an eye.
It's getting ready to make a ring. It's definitely going to strengthen, but that is not an eye. Although that probably tells us where the center of the storm is. But regardless, we're gonna be showing the IR of both Hilary and Franklin, and you know what? We can even show it 91L here in the Gulf. We're gonna show all of the infrared it's not visible anymore. But that's gonna do it for us here at Force 13. There will be a tropical weather bulletin tomorrow. If Franklin ends up getting the code orange, we'll end up having a live TWB. If it stays code yellow, then it will just be a normal TWB. We'll probably do some live coverage on both 91L and Franklin when they get close to their landfall on Tuesday. But until then, my name is Jonesy again. I'm the director of Force 13 US. I'd like to thank my team tonight of Samuel, Josh, Simkani, Lucas. I'd also like to thank Nathan for allowing us to stream here on the main, as well as for making the Tropical Weather Bulletin. And I also like to thank the people that were working behind the scenes that made some of the graphics, like Ethan. I also like to thank Fitz, who also did some stuff behind the scenes tonight. But from all of us at Force 13 and Force 13 US, thank you all for watching, and I'm going to play In Summary now to take us out. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.